Law at Work is sponsored by Perrett van Niekerk Woodhouse Macholo, leading labour law specialists representing businesses throughout South and Southern Africa, as well as Case Law, the quick, fast and easy labour law search engine.
Hello, I'm Simon Coleman and welcome to Law at Work. Alcoholism and substance abuse are social scourges that not only impact on the home lives of many South Africans, but also in their workplaces. Employers struggle to determine their responsibilities when addictions are discovered. In today's program, we'll address these issues. We have two guests, Alexa Stafford of SAB and Audrey Vermeulen of Sanker Johannesburg. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Audrey, the first question for you. There's a lot of talk that there is a prevalence of substance abuse in South Africa. We've seen some statistics. In terms of workplace abuse or abuse that's affecting the workplace, how big is this problem?
Well, I think it's difficult to really give a figure of how many people are affected. But definitely if we look at the statistics from Sekendo, we see that 48% of people are employed that come for treatment. The rest of that percentage is students and the unemployed people. So you're looking at quite a high percentage of people then suffering from substance abuse problems, and they are employed at that current moment as well.
Okay. Alexa, just from a corporate responsibility point of view, from a legal point of view perhaps, what is the company's responsibility when an employee comes forward and says, look, I have a problem?
In our case, when an employee comes forward, they can get assistance from our Employee Assistance Program or our EAP, where they'll get effective treatments, and they'll also look at a prevention relapse program. If an employee does come forward voluntarily, which we certainly try and encourage, that disclosure will obviously be kept totally confidential, and no unfair discrimination is allowed against the employee who comes forward, and they then get sent for an independent assessment.
Alexa, is there a difference if an employee raises the disease of alcoholism or substance abuse as a defense? In other words, I've crashed the company car, I did it because I'm an alcoholic. Do you deal with those issues differently, or is it the same approach?
We deal with it slightly differently. We first need to establish, or the company first needs to establish, whether there is a link between the illness and between the misconduct, as it were. If that link is established, that there is indeed one, then our employee or the employee gets referred to the EAP for assistance, and that then runs in conjunction with the disciplinary hearing. Okay.
Audrey, in terms of the treatment that Alexa's alluding to, how does Sanker play a role in that? What is it that you do? How can you help these people?
I think there's two levels. One has to look at this proactive work, which is more your preventative kind of work that you can implement. And then what you're talking about in terms of treatment, that would be your reactive kind of work, that there is now a problem and you need to do something about it. And when you look at that, there's different options. You can get an outpatient program that was probably the most cost effective for a company to look at, because
I would imagine they don't want somebody out of work for 6 weeks or however long it takes.
Definitely, and so that I think is the option that most companies would go for. And then you would obviously look at the severity of the case then for an inpatient treatment program as well. So those would be your two treatment options that you would look at for a person.
The issue of confidentiality came up a second ago. How does Sanker deal with that? Are you obliged to make referrals or report back to the employer that has referred an employee who has a problem?
Definitely. That referring person is the one that we only deal with, and we're only allowed to give information through to that person. And it's normally through reports or telephone conversations with them. And we have to report back on if the client is compliant, if they are testing positive during any of their urine testings. So it's important that there is contact between the company and the treatment clinic.
Okay. It's probably a very difficult question to answer, but what's the general success rate for somebody who's attending some kind of outpatient treatment?
I think if you look at different drugs, there's different success rates linked to that. If you look at alcohol specifically, there's a higher success rate, so you're looking at 35% even. And then when you're looking at others, like especially the illegal drugs, you're looking at 25%. So it depends on the kind of drug that you are looking at.
Okay.
But if you look in terms of cost, then it's more cost effective to send somebody for treatment than not to send them for treatment.
Alexa, in terms of those disciplinary inquiries that we were talking about earlier, you're obviously bringing the information that's being gathered during the counselling process or after the employee has admitted that they have a problem. How is that used or not used in a disciplinary situation?
It's not used.
Okay.
It's, confidential information remains entirely confidential. It's just that the sanction is only going to be implemented. Dismissal will only be implemented if the employee relapses or if he fails to stick to the treatment program.
Okay, so you're basically running the disciplinary process, saying you have been found guilty of this particular offence and you are dismissed, but we're suspending that pending the outcome of your treatment.
Yes.
How long would that period of time be?
It usually takes about 6 months.
Okay.
6 months to a year. And then if there's a relapse, as I said, then the dismissal will become
come
effective.
into effect.
Yeah.
Relapse seems to be a part of the process.
That's right.
How is this dealt with at Sanka?
I think that most of it is dealt with, that we see relapse as part of recovery.
Yes.
And that's what we find a big problem with companies, to make them understand that even an employee that's come for treatment might relapse once or twice, and they need to be quite aware of that. And then in their policy they need to stipulate how many relapses are they going to allow before dismissal.
Wow. Is that stipulated in your policy, the
Yes, it
number
is.
of relapses? Okay, very interesting. In terms of preventative measures that are taken, you know, we're talking about dealing with the issue after something has come to light. How would you deal with preventing these things in the workplace, Audrey?
Definitely from our side we feel that awareness is the key to that. So you need to provide correct information to employees.
Yes.
Through your wellness days you can do help desks for them, have educational talks, posters, brochures available for the family.
Yes.
It's not only the employees, it's sometimes their family members that have a problem as well.
Yes.
So that would be the key to that. And then obviously looking at management training.
Okay.
That's extremely important to how do you identify a person with problems and what are the signs and symptoms of that.
Excellent. I'm sorry, that's all the time we have this evening. Thank you all for joining us, and until next time, goodbye.
Law at Work is sponsored by Perrett van Niekerk Woodhouse Macholo, leading labour law specialists representing businesses throughout South and Southern Africa, as well as Case Law, the quick, fast and easy labour law search engine.